Known as the father of modern chemistry, it's hard to overstate the contributions of Antoine Lavoisier to scientific progress. He is regarded today as the father of modern chemistry. He isolated oxygen and hydrogen, and took the first real crack at organizing the elements. He created the metric system. He created a primitive but nearly accurate version of the law of conservation of mass, and he debunked the phlogiston theory. Without Lavoisier, we'd probably be a century behind where we are today. Unfortunately, science was just his hobby. His day job was that of an administrator of the biggest private tax company on earth at the time. He lived as an upper-class aristocrat in Paris in the middle to late 18th century. Needless to say, his career came to a sudden end when his head dropped at the blade of the guillotine during the French Revolution. It wasn't just that he was an investor and the administrator of the Ferme Générale. He was also one of the only 28 French tax collectors and chairman of the board of the discount bank. More importantly, he was also one who had a brilliant idea to build a wall around Paris, spotted with toll booths, of course, to keep the riffraff from smuggling things like food and clothing into the city without paying appropriate taxes. What did him in, however, was a case of bad sowing and reaping. Just before the Revolution, an awkward young medical doctor presented Lavoisier with a proposition for an invention that Lavoisier curtly dismissed as preposterous. The young medical doctor, after years of living in the Parisian sewers, would later leave science behind to become a notable revolutionary and a political demigod. With harbored resentment for Lavoisier's rejection, Jean-Paul Marat, suddenly infused with power during the Revolution, pointed his finger at Lavoisier and ordered him marched to Madame la Guillotine in May of 1794. Marat had applied for membership in the French Academy and had been rejected, with Lavoisier being the major factor in the rejection. Marat had taken to the idea of animal magnetism, as propounded by Franz Mesmer, a process also called mesmerism, which is now called hypnosis. The French Academy had appointed a commission of scientists, which included Lavoisier, and also the American ambassador, one Benjamin Franklin, to look into the matter. The commission concluded that animal magnetism was, quote, the product of mere imagination, end quote, thus dashing Marat's dreams for acceptance. So fate set up Lavoisier for the perfect storm of revenge from Jean-Paul Marat over professional slight. At his hasty trial, an appeal to spare his life so that he could continue his scientific work was cut short by the judge, who declared, "The Republic needs neither scientists nor chemists. The course of justice cannot be delayed." Lavoisier's importance to science was expressed by his colleague Joseph Louis Lagrange, who lamented his execution by saying, "It took them only an instant to cut off his head, but France may not produce another like it in a century." 1.5 years later, after Robespierre's own head was taken at the guillotine, ending the Reign of Terror, Lavoisier's remaining belongings were delivered to his wife with a simple note, "To the widow of Lavoisier, who was falsely convicted." Lavoisier was a dedicated scientist, a ruthless and perhaps even greedy aristocrat, but his contributions to science cannot be exaggerated. He stated the first version of the law of conservation of mass, recognized and named oxygen and hydrogen, abolished the phlogiston theory, helped construct the metric system, wrote the first extensive list of elements, and helped to reform chemical nomenclature. He discovered that although matter may change its form or shape, its mass always remains the same. Aristocrat, chemist, victim of the Revolution, Antoine Lavoisier.